is also zoned C3. All parcels east of the site are zoned within Mojave County. Properties north of the subject site and fronting on North Sierra Road are zoned C2. Here we have an aerial photo of the subject site. You can see the west portion of the site is developed currently, and the eastern portion is still vacant with the subject right-of-way in between. Here we have a legal exhibit describing the portion of the right-of-way to be vacated and a detail map. And this is the proposed site development plan. This is a request for approval to vacate or abandon the right-of-way dedicated as a public alley that bifurcates the proposed project site. The right-of-way was originally dedicated to Mojave County before being acquired by the city through annexation in 1991. The right-of-way contains several utilities. Section 5-1 of the Streets and Sidewalks Development Rules and Regulations governs the procedures of vacations of right-of-way and extinguishment of easements. The term right-of-way is defined in Section 2-1B of the SSDRR, and land reserved for or dedicated to the city or general public for street, highway, alley, public utility, pedestrian walkway, bikeway, or drainage purposes. Section 5-1B2, as amended September 16, 2025 of the SSDRR, states that public rights-of-way or right-of-way easements containing existing utilities, including water pipelines, shall not be eligible for vacation unless such features and/or utilities are to be relocated and/or legal access is to be maintained through the granting of an appropriate easement. No objections from the utility companies or city staff was received so long as an easement is retained in the same place. As of October 27, 2025, no objection to the proposed right-of-way vacation has been received from the public or surrounding property owners. As such, the abandonment is in the best interest of the general welfare of the public and would not create a hardship for access to the public utilities, as an easement for public utilities and access would be retained. Again, no comments were received from city departments. Frontier Communications and Unisource Energy had no objection to the abandonment so long as an easement was retained in its place. And Mojave County Public Works had no objection to the abandonment, but asked to please ensure that the site preserves the existing recently constructed $30,000 Northern Avenue access ramp located at the northwesterly segment of the Northern and Sierra intersection. Public notice was provided. The site was posted with a zoning notice on October 22nd, 2025. A public notice was published in the Kingman Daily Miner, October 22nd, 2025, and property owners were within 300 feet of the subject site were noticed and sent via mail on October 22nd, 2025. Staff is recommending approval of the vacation of the subject right-of-way as requested, subject to the following conditions. The property described in Exhibit A shall be appraised by an appraiser licensed by the state of Arizona. All expenses relating to the appraisal of said property shall be paid for by the property owner. The appraisal shall be of the highest market value of said property. Upon acceptance of the appraisal, the city and property owner shall enter into a purchase and sale agreement in which the city is compensated for the highest market value of said property. And upon full execution of the purchase and sale agreement, the city shall record the associated resolution in the Mojave County Recorder's Office, vacating said property to the abutting property owner and reserving an easement in its place. Questions or comments?
I have a question. When they reserve the easement, will that take care of retaining that one section that the Public Works Department asked for?
Madam Chair, that's correct.
Okay, thank you. Do you have any further questions?
Madam Chair, sorry, would you roll back to the aerial image?
Yes.
I thought I saw there was something constructed on there. Was it the little hut where they serve soft drinks or something? That little round thing there. So is that?
I believe that is a little hut.
Yeah, but it's
constructed in
it's
the right of way.
non-affixed, so it's probably not real property. All right, I was just curious. Thank you.
I don't believe that's showing on the proposed development plan.
It's a little palapa, a Mexican palapa. Is
that what it's called?
That Dan made, that I'm aware of, yeah.
Tiki torches and stuff.
Well, palapa.
Need
And it
additional-
looks like on, it's item 19 on the diagram, up that diagram, and it's indicating that that would be to be removed.
Speak in your microphone, please. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Yes, looking at that diagram on item 19, yeah, umbrella.
Thank you.
Okay, any further questions?
No.
No? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I am going to open this up to public comment. If anybody has comments to make, they can approach the podium. Hi, just state your name for us.
Hi, Rob Sampson with Selberg Associates. Kind of technically not the public. I represent the owners here today, so if you have any questions, we're here to answer them. But I think it's pretty straightforward what we're looking for. So,
Great, thank you so much.
thank you.
Does anybody have any questions for him before he sits down? No? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to close public discussion and then open up commission discussion. Does anybody have any questions, comments, want to make a motion?
I move to approve.
I second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote?
Yes, Chair Goss.
Approve.
Vice Chair Swap.
Approve.
Commissioner McCoy.
Approve.
Commissioner Sixta.
Approve.
Commissioner Sprinkle.
Approve.
Commissioner Waters.
Approve.
Item's been approved.
Great, thank you. All right, our next item is Z025-0001. This is the Comprehensive Zoning Code Amendment from January 1st, 2026. Z025-0001 is a city-initiated text amendment to the City of Kingman zoning code titles 1 through 6 for the purposes of reorganizing the code to allow for greater readability and navigation while aligning the city's procedures and applications. Title 2, establishing future planning and engineering development standards, PEDS, adoption of the new and expanded land use matrix, Title 3, new and updated development and design standards, Title 4, and a comprehensive reform to the city's definitions. And I see we have a presentation.
Good evening, Chair Goss and Commissioners. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak before you this evening regarding this item. This particular item is something that the staff has been working on since about January of this year.
It's
Did it not go? Can IT help us? I think we're there. So this item before you tonight, ZO 25-002, is an ordinance associated with Ordinance 1985 that will come before the City Council next week. It is a comprehensive update to the city's zoning code that was initially adopted back in April of 2021. As many have
Ask
known,
you one quick question. The number on that one is the number from the first item? Is that just a,
should be 25001.
because the first one was 0002 and this one's 0001.
So this would be ZO 25001. It's just a typo
On this one?
on this.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
So this particular, as you know, we've brought several amendments before this body in regards to doing some amendments to the code, cleaning up various aspects of the code. Some were driven by by representatives of the development community throughout this last year. However, in January of this year, we took on a comprehensive update to really go through the code and really look at the organization of the code. This code was adopted in 2021. Staff that has worked with this code prior to me coming on board has expressed difficulty in fully implementing the code, being able to deliver and interpret aspects of the code. And it's really what it gets back down to it. If I can't interpret it, my staff can't interpret it, I can't expect the development community or the public to interpret it. So we took on an effort this year, working with a consultant that aided us in the rewriting of it and reformatting of the code and reorganizing it. So before you tonight, you had several documents. You have a clean version of the code in some red line format. You have a multicolored formatted copy, which talks about language that was moved around in the code. So it's not new language that's added, but it was moved from one section to another. And then I think it's in purple, which talks about some of the added language that we did add to the code. This presentation, if I give it to you in its entirety, it's about 45 minutes. I'm going to give you a high-level overview, and then I'm going to really just open it up for questions for the commission. So real quick, just going over it, again, we modernize and reorganize the code. We align with the evolving land use issues, community expectations, and state law. It's really designed to support businesses, residential, civic development throughout, and provide clearer and more flexible standards. It does amend Titles 1 through 6. Title 1 being of our general provisions, Title 2 for codifications and rebranding of our development process, which we've talked about in the past through various workshops. It also does expand for some clarified language for temporary use permits for off-site premise or off-premise signage. Title 3 is where we really get into the meats and potatoes of where we start seeing some changes, and really that comes back to the renaming of our transect zones to really our downtown districts. And then there is a comprehensive land use matrix update. Title 4 to actually support that land use update, we have supplemental standards that we've gone through, created, and aligned with either that with Mojave County, but also with that for emerging uses that we have coming before us. We touch on metal buildings, accessory structures, accessory dwelling units, and micro schools and driveway standards. Title 4 parking code, again, this is comprehensive update, and that does align to mimic that of our land use code. And there are some minor changes to the sign code. I do want to make it known that there will be a comprehensive change or a comprehensive proposed amendment to the sign code coming forth in 2026. Sign codes get very convoluted. They get very difficult to work through all of the elements of it. So with that and council's direction, we're going to bring that back at a later time. And then Title 5, really, this was probably one of the biggest feats, I think, for our staff. When we started, we had 2 different sets of definitions having the same terms and meaning different things in our code. And we've cleaned that up to where we have a single set of definitions that we can now refer to. So real quick, Title II really gets into the rebranding of our development process. What we've had in the past, which was pre-application and concept review, we've rebranded to due diligence application, development plan review applications, and review itself. So these have been rebranded through the code, so all the code references where it referenced the old acronyms or the old terminology, that has been updated. Ultimately, the purpose of this was to really speed up our ability to bring projects before the Planning and Zoning Commission, before the City Council, and ultimately get them to be vertical throughout our city. And so working with the development community, we did come up with a plan that worked for them. It certainly streamlines our process, and one of those really is bringing back this updated ordinance before you this evening. This is just a roadmap that kind of just gives you an idea of what it looks like. Due diligence, we start with, we get before the Development Review Committee, and this is where we're now giving comprehensive feedback to the developer and the applicant. This is where we send them back. We let them actually do all of their work at this point. They're not having to come back before us on multiple different reviews to review a site plan. We let them do all their work. They come back at the end, they submit their site plan and their building plans at the same time. We review them concurrently. So they're not going through about a 3-month to 4-month process of just looking at a site plan and then going in looking at their building plans. It does save them about 2 to 3 months initially through the process without entitlements, and 3 to 4 if they have entitlements. Getting into Chapter 3, some of the big changes, if you look at this particular map, the transect zones, which was adopted with the April 21 code, were really designed to allow for the redevelopment and promoting of the downtown area. However, transect zones, when you think about it, they don't talk that it's downtown. It doesn't provide an identity. And so what we've done is we've really just gone in and we've changed the name of it. So instead of being transect zone 3, 4, and 5, we've gone back and we've relabeled them to be downtown districts 1, 2, 3, and 4. They still align with the same allowed uses, the same development standards. We've actually added in a little bit greater flexibility that sometimes you do need in the downtown districts when you have existing uses or existing buildings with 0 setbacks and so forth. And that's been added into our development standards. But this, we felt, provided our downtown more of a downtown district and provided an identity for our downtown. One of the things that was brought forth through the various workshops that we did was really looking at non-conforming lots. Non-conforming lots are lots that don't meet the minimum lot size requirements for that of the city. This is current zoning ordinance and subdivision ordinance doesn't allow for lots to be created less than 6,000 square feet. However, we have lots that were created back prior to 1942 and then some beyond that range anywhere from about 2,000 square feet up to just under 6,000 square feet. In our old code, we had a very confusing table. It didn't make any sense to our staff. It didn't make any sense to any of the developers that were trying to work with those lots. A non-conforming lot is just that. You can still develop on a non-conforming lot as long as you can meet the development standards. What we did add in the language of this, though, is to allow for, and to really clarify that those non-conforming lots can be built on. They can also be combined. Even if they don't meet the minimum lot square footage of 6,000 square feet, you could still combine them. So you could take two 2,000 square foot lots, combine them together under a parcel plat. So again, we just cleaned up the language, we made it clear, and provided a path forward for the developers. Going a little bit step further, we know there's a lot of lots in this last year that I've seen, and that was processed prior to, where they've done lot combines through the county. And lot combines with the county is only the combination of the actual assessor's parcel number. However, in some cases, property owners are under the impression that that actually combines their lots and gives them new legal descriptions and actually legal lots. It does not. So what we did with this language is we also recognize that those types of lot combines exist. They may not be legal, but should they want to go forward, be legal lots, they can still do the lot combine process, but we would still recognize the fact that they are still the 2,000 square foot lots. So we didn't want to penalize them because they didn't know or they couldn't go back if they wanted to go back. And I think the biggest thing really that starts to change in our Title III is our land use matrix. And I will skip through these slides fairly quick, but our land use matrix was our land use table was very combined. It had a lot of uses in a paragraph format. It really didn't break it out. It left staff subject to really having to make a determination on just about every use that came before us. That's not good for staff, but it's also not good for our development community or for economic development. Brokers that are out there marketing land, they want to know that they have an allowed or permitted use, or if it's not permitted, it's conditionally permitted. And so what we've done is we've gone through and we've really expanded this table. What started out to be about 1.5 pages of table in the old code is now 7 full pages. But we've gone a step further and we've actually included use-specific standard references in this table, and we've aligned it to where all of our zones are in one location. So anybody coming into the city that wants to find out if they can do something on a certain property, we can tell them what the zone is. They will be able to go to one table and look and see exactly if they can do that use or not, and it gives them the reference to what development standards they should go and look at. I will just flip through these real quick, and again, if you have any questions on a specific use, we can go back and take a look at it. We did review multiple different codes. We went through and pulled all the uses that we felt were appropriate for Kingman, and added them into to this code here. So one of the other things we did is we eliminated a lot of the footnotes. In the old code, there were development standards that were buried in footnotes. If everyone reads the footnotes, which nobody does, if we go back and think about a textbook in college, we never read the footnotes. We don't read them in zoning codes either, for the most part, or at least some people don't. And that allows for a lot of opportunity for error. So we've eliminated those where we could. So getting into some of the supplemental development standards, some emerging uses, micro schools and daycare centers. Micro schools are not regulated by the state. With that, they can come in. You could have an owner that owns 3 or 4 houses on a single block. They could come in and open up a school that would allow for kindergarten in one school, in one house, that would allow for, grade school in another, maybe high school in another. There is no student limitation that has been set forth by the state. And so now all of a sudden you can have a residential zone that can have 3 or 4 micro schools on the same block. And if you can think about it, you have those that are dropping off and picking up. They can have 2 different sessions during the day, so you could have 30, 40, 60 trips to one home in a residential zone for these types of uses. So we went through, and again, this is something that we saw that was emerging. We saw that this use was coming forward on many different opportunities. We saw that they were already in residential zones trying to get into commercial zones, and it was causing the same concerns. It also doesn't meet the minimum requirements for egress as well as for fire suppression and occupancy and exiting. So we've incorporated development standards that are specific to those types of uses, so that way we don't have that type of influx in our residential areas. We did update our architectural design guidelines. These were actually minor updates. They really focused on providing clarity. We did go back and we looked at metal buildings. Metal buildings was something that, again, staff did struggle with over this last year and prior to. And so we added additional regulations on the metal buildings specific to that for commercial and industrial areas. Specific to industrial, if you have an existing corrugated metal building, you can continue to add another corrugated metal building. It didn't make a lot of sense to make them add a standing seam or a different type of metal building at that point. But it did also then touch on the residential zones. And the residential zones is where we started seeing metal buildings forward of the primary structure that didn't match, or in some areas they tried to make it match. We saw different types of buildings that don't match the primary dwelling unit. And so this clarifies the fact that you can have a metal building. If it's behind the rear building line of your main dwelling unit, all we're asking is that you paint it to match. If it's going to be setting forward of that rear building line of the main dwelling unit, then we are asking that you actually add architectural elements to match that of your residential structure. So that gets away from having the commercialized roll-up doors. Now you end up having a residential type roll-up door if that's the case, windows and so forth. The previous code said you had to have 25% of no metal, you had to have some glass, you had to have some wood or some other type of, and staff would sit there and have to try to arbitrarily apply what meets each of these criterias. Understanding we don't want to be overly burdensome in regulating individual architectural styles, but we wanted to give some guidance. And so that's what these guidelines do. Supplemental development standards for accessory structures. Again, this was just some cleanup stuff, just addressing where they can be. Also, we pulled some of the language out of it, dealing with our patio covers, but also then it starts to blend into our accessory dwelling units. This is probably another one of the bigger changes. Accessory dwelling units is a big push on the legislative side. They've had 2 different legislative bills that have come forward that have required local jurisdictions to implement additional ADU standards. It does remove a lot of the restrictions that the city had at one point in time. These standards that are being proposed align with that of the county. The county just adopted their updated ADU requirements in accordance with state statute. This will do the same. This was not required until we hit 75,000 individuals. However, to remain competitive and also remain consistent with our county partner, we felt now was the time to go ahead and include those development standards. Driveways was another one, just in regards to the type of material where they can be located. So we've cleaned that up and we've made it very clear as to what type of materials we do allow for when you're doing additional driveways for RVs or additional access to your property. So this has been updated accordingly. This also eliminates, there's a loophole that allowed for if the street wasn't improved, they didn't have to actually put in an improved driveway. And they wouldn't have to do so until the city came in and improved that roadway in the future. Well, if I allowed a house to be built today that didn't have to put in their driveway, the likeliness of me getting them to put their driveway in 10 or 15 years from now, when that street goes in, likely would result in a code enforcement action. So in order to avoid that, we're just moving forward. They put in their driveway up to the point that is adjacent to their property line, and then they can utilize aggregate until that road is improved. When the road is improved, the city would then improve the access approach at that time. And then we talked about the land use matrix update. The biggest component that goes with that is really the updated parking code, removes the ambiguity, creates standards to review by, and complements, again, the land use table. I will just skip through these if you have any questions specifically, but these have been aligned to coincide with each of our land uses in the matrix, land use matrix. So back in, I think it was May, roughly, we started in April. We were doing some updates to our enforcement on banners and temporary signs throughout the city. And in an effort to try and clean some of that up, we did end up with some feedback from the local nonprofit groups, mostly those that are running, small businesses and so forth. And council did ask staff to go back and look for an opportunity in order to allow for certain types of off-site signage or off-premise signage. So what we've done is we've gone back, and what we've required is that they get a temporary use permit. So that's one of the changes that was in Chapter 2 or Title 2 of this ordinance. But then it does allow for them to actually have a banner that is off-site. It allows them to have them up to 12 events per year per location for their event itself. It regulates when they can put them up. They can't put them up greater than 2 weeks prior to. They have to take them down 48 hours afterwards. It regulates the maximum size of the banner and so forth to 24 square feet. We worked extensively with the nonprofit groups and those that were running the craft fairs and the farmers markets and the stoners groups and so forth. They were very involved in this process, and I have to say thank you to them, because sometimes we get up here and we're taking a shot in the dark to try and create something that really appeases everybody, while at the same time not violating any type of federal or state law, which is the weaving of the needle in this particular process. But temporary signs was updated to address that. During one of those meetings, we also heard that I'll stop there, I'll come back to that. One of the other items that we are addressing is our pole signs. Pole signs were completely prohibited with the 2021 code. We have a lot of pole signs that are not being reutilized today. They're sitting essentially abandoned. There are businesses that are in those locations that can't use them, that have been wanting to use them. So in order to aid in the economic development aspect of the code and our partners on economic development, we've gone back and we've said you can reuse an existing pylon sign. If it's existing, it's there, the pole is there, you can go ahead and put a panel back in it and you can reuse it. We do know that in some cases the cabinets have been removed. They will have to get an engineer to certify that those footings will sustain whatever cabinet they put back in, but at least it allows them to reuse those pole signs at this time. When we come back with a comprehensive amendment to the sign program, we'll likely be coming back with additional development standards that will allow for maybe cladding or other types of improvements so we can get architectural improvements on those types of signs. And then with respect to those temporary signs, what we did here at one of the workshops was the ability for our residential and commercial brokers to have additional opportunities. Currently, our code was silent when it came to commercial real estate. So even though we had signs on those properties that were of various sizes, advertising for sale, for lease and so forth, the code was silent. So we went through in order to establish defined standards. We've done that. We've allowed them to be up to 14 feet in height, 8 feet in width, 48 square feet in area. Allows them to advertise that it's for sale or for lease. has to be removed at the close of escrow if it's for something for sale. Residential open house signs was also something that was silent in the code, and we've addressed that as well in accordance of being in alignment with the real estate industry. The sizes are prescribed accordingly. We do allow them that they put their signs out from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, so we just don't want them out there all the time. We'd like them to at least pick up their signs at the end of the day. In addition to that, we ask that they maintain 6 feet from one another and that they maintain a clear path of travel, so that way we're not impeding any flow of pedestrian traffic. And then for our developers that are actively building residential subdivisions, a lot of our developers don't do model home complexes, which is very common down in the valley or in other areas for subdivision purposes. So they had asked for off-site signs as well. And so what we've done is we've gone through the code and we've updated the code to allow them to have up to 48 square foot signs, allows them to have a total of no more than 3 of these signs, and that they are allowed to be on no less than a half acre in area. They do have to maintain where the sign is located. It has to be on private property. It cannot be within the public right-of-way. And they would be subject to coming through what we would call a model home or a temporary use permit process for those types of signs, so we can regulate them. It does have to be with an active subdivision that has at least 50 units or greater within the subdivision. This is not part of the zoning code, but a lot of the zoning code changes really roll up into an ordinance that will go before the city council, which will be the repeal and replacement of our subdivision ordinance, which will be addressed next week. To bring that into alignment, not only with our code, but also update it, since it hasn't been updated since 1983. One of the big changes being that the legislature is no longer requiring that plats go before the Planning and Zoning Commission or City Council. They do have to be approved administratively. With that being said, that was one of the main items necessitating the updates to the ordinances. So just a little bit of background. We started this again back in January. We've had workshops with our development community since I got here, starting in October of last year. We did January, May, July. All of those workshops, we were taking input from the developers to really start formatting how this code was going to look. We kicked off with another series in September, which were detailed workshops where we shared the code, we shared the changes and so forth. Even prior to that, we road-showed our development process. We put on a workshop here. I actually went down to Lake Havasu and visited with the architects and engineers that were in the Lake Havasu area and showed them the changes as well, got their feedback. We started the implementation of our trial period on the development process on August 1st. It has been proven to be successful. We've had great feedback on it to this point. In regards to the zoning code, we've had 2 rounds of public drafts that have been put out there through the workshops. We've had 127 comments from the community developers and design professionals. Part of the packets that you got, I provided those comments that were provided as well for your information. In addition, we did have one-on-one collaborative meetings with the developers that wish to and really work through any of the sticking points that were left in the code that we could accommodate in working with them or understanding where the city was coming out from our perspective. So tonight is the first step in the approval of this ordinance. So ZO 25-001, the Comprehensive Zoning Code Amendment, which would be dated January 1st, 2026. It will have an effective date as of January 1st. And then the next step will be going before the City Council on November 18th. Based on the findings contained in the staff report, our presentation this evening, we are recommending approval tonight before the mayor, to be made before the mayor and the City Council. I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Jason. I'm sure we have some questions for you, so do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So, Madam Chair, Mr. Mockwin, regarding the minimum lot sizes, I can think of 1,000 of those 2,000 square foot lots just right over there on the hill. So you're saying that they can build on that, and the setbacks will no longer be a consideration when you build on it?
No, they are legal buildable lots. They still have to meet the setback requirements. Okay. That is the constraint that they're stuck with. That's why they do often try to combine them.
So are we talking like a 200 square foot house in some of these because they're?
They don't fit a tiny home, so yeah.
Okay, all right. So the other thing is, I don't fully understand in the industry what the problem is with the pole signs. Is it an aesthetic thing, or what's the problem?
So in 2021, there was a determination or decision made with the adoption of that code to eliminate pole signs. Pole signs are very common. However, most of the industry has moved away from single pole signs, where you just see an exposed pole, and they normally will do cladding around those, or they do double poles or pylon type signs. So architecturally wise, that's what they've moved away from. So this is allowing the reuse of those existing pole signs.
So a chicken wire and stucco build out around a pole is more attractive than just a pole. Like honesty in materials type of thing, it seems weird to me.
I think when you, Commissioner Waters, when you look at it from a zoning and planning standpoint, when we look at those, we look at what type of architectural elements are forthcoming. The sign industry in itself is doing aluminum cladding around these types of poles, so we're not seeing chicken wire.
Okay, not yet. All right, so the shipping containers, a little concerned about those just in general, as we talked about before this meeting, about them becoming residences or something. It sounds like the presentation, anyway, you're talking about putting them behind a house. As long as you put a spray job on it and get the maersk off the side of it, it's good to go. Like, do they have to put a window in it or something, or?
So, Chair Goss, Commissioner Waters, there's a differentiation between containers and metal buildings. Containers are not considered metal buildings. Containers are expressly defined in our code, and they're regulated differently. So you would not see them as a permanent structure on the property unless it's going to match the architectural styles. And if that's the case, it does come back before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council.
Okay, apologies, maybe I misheard you. So you're talking a metal building can be basically part of the house, but as long as it's built in the back, it doesn't need to be faced. Correct. Okay. Fourth thing is probably the big one. The administrative approvals of the plats that we discussed ad nauseum last time. Is that still bundled into this 1,000-page thing where basically a developer comes to you, we don't see it, plat gets approved, and in theory, we don't even know about it unless there's some reporting happening here.
Chair Goss, Commissioner Waters. So the actual portion of the plat is not part of the zoning ordinance. It's actually part of the subdivision ordinance that will go before the City Council next week. The portion in the zoning code just makes reference to the fact that we have a subdivision ordinance, which was absent prior to.
Hence, we haven't discussed it in this one.
That, correct. Because it's adopted by ordinance only, it only goes before the City Council for adoption.
Okay, it's part of a Q&A, but I'd just like to reassert that I'd like some visibility for this board and the public for the things that are being approved.
Right.
It's not completely cut out of the process.
Right, Chair Gosh, Commissioner Waters. From staff's perspective, we're going to talk a little bit more about it later this evening in just a report format, but it is my desire to bring forward to you on a frequent or infrequent basis, depending on our meeting schedules, basically a report that's demonstrating what's being approved on a platting perspective, what types of projects are being approved, as well as what type of key development projects are underway, both through the building permit process. We have now a permit coordinator position within the Development Services Department. They're putting out a regular report to myself on a weekly basis. We do provide that back to our management team and to the City Council. This is the first month that they are now getting it. We're getting feedback to make any changes or amendments to that type of report, so that way they can get that information on a regular basis. We'll be providing that to you as well.
Okay, I know we've already discussed a lot of this stuff, so I'm done. Thanks.
Great, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions? No? All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm going to open this up to the public. If anybody has any comments to make, you can approach the podium.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Council, Commissioner members. My name is Rob Sampson, by the way. Honestly, I normally run into these meetings as fast as I can after my item is finished, but this one here actually means a lot to me. And I did want to say, most people are you'll hear the loudest speakers to be the complainers, not the people who appreciate what's going on. As someone who's worked in the city of Kingman as a design professional for over 25 years, this is the greatest breath of fresh air I've seen brought before the city for consideration. The reason I say that's because the code before, and not to speak ill of Mr. Ruggles, but the last thing the city needed was more government to tell us that we need more government and to complicate things. And what Mr. Moquin and his team have done is listen to every design professional that wanted to offer an opinion. And although we don't agree with everything, I still think there's way too many zoning districts in the downtown to make it a functional use. I think we could do that with one. I will say that the implementation of tables that help for parking, for uses, these are tools that are very invaluable for what we do. And the fact that it's been something that's been added, and the fact that the city is progressively trying to make this better without making it more complicated or adding more levels. And the last thing I'll add in this is with you guys have already approved and what Mr. Moquin has implemented. By bringing in a less complicated, we had a very complicated submittal process in Kingman. It seemed to take months and months and months. And while the city is open for business and the mayor stands up and says, we're ready to bring your business here, we're ready. I can't tell you how many developers looked at Kingman and Mojave County and Lake Havasu and Bullhead and said, there's no chance. I'm not going to develop in Kingman. It's going to take me almost a year to get through the process. And I'm speaking a little out of turn. Mr. Moquin and I haven't talked about this specifically in a while. But now that's not the case. There's a lot more things that are very positive that are coming out. So I just want to say thank you to everybody out here. Thank you to the Planning Commission. Thank you to our planners and for all the hard work that they're doing. And honestly, you will never please everybody. I think I've learned that in my 48 years. But the fact that you guys are doing so many things progressively to try and make this better, I really appreciate it. I think that everybody who gets to deal with it will appreciate it as well.
Thank you so much. All right, I don't see anybody else to make a comment, so I'm going to close public comment and open us up for commission discussion. Does anybody have any statements, comments, arguments, motions?
Commissioner Goss, yes, I just wanted to comment also because I really feel, because I've looked at much of what's been presented and attended some of the discussions and meetings that they've had, and I really feel like the department has, identified the need. They've made their changes. They've vetted it to the city, to the individual contractors, invited the public to that. So I really feel like they've done an excellent job of vetting all of the changes. And then I think, like Mr. Moquin was saying, or the gentleman here, that yes, once it's approved, then it needs to be, have any option for, modification. But I think that's built into it also.
Thank you.
I think I'm just very grateful that we're getting there. I'm very grateful that we're moving forward into a streamlined process where it makes it so much easier. As a commercial broker, I work with development as well, and for many years, it's been very difficult to, exactly what he said, to say the city is open for business, but then find out that it's not. It just takes too long. So I'm thrilled. I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I'd just like to chime in that I really appreciate the tables that were set up. I mean, if more of the code could be presented in the tables like that were consolidated, I think that'd be great for not only us, but the public as well. Just my concern, as always, is hyper-homogenized subdivisions, cookie-cutter subdivisions, which, again, we had this discussion last time where, we have a pick list of certain properties that are green-lighted for development. I could see danger in bending over backwards for some development that might, come to fruition 20 years from now, when maybe we decide to have property tax, and suddenly the property values are lower than what they could have been if, if we had actually padded out our lots, at a humane level. So I'm on board with, allowing the developers to develop with caution that we don't do something right now because of some trend like affordable housing, that I've heard many developers use. Just, we got to be cautious not to jump on bandwagons and do something that could hurt the city long term. That's my only chime in. But otherwise, I do appreciate all the work you guys are doing, even though I can be kind of hard on you sometimes. I know it's hard on that end of the podium. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, do we have any more comments, or are you guys ready for motion?
I'll make the motion
Okay.
to approve 2025-0001 comprehensive zoning code amendment for January of 2026.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote?
Chair Goss,
Approve.
Vice Chair Swap. Approve. Commissioner McCoy,
Approve.
Commissioner Sixta,
Approved.
Commissioner Sprinkle,
Approve.
Commissioner Waters.
Approve.
Item's been approved.
Thank you. All right, the last item we have is the request to amend the official Planning and Zoning Commission meeting start time. The Planning and Zoning Commission is being asked to consider moving the start time up from 5:30 PM to 5 PM for its regularly scheduled meetings. This comes at the direction of the Development Services Director to return the meeting time to its original start time of 5 PM before being modified by the City Council at the Commissioner's request on October 15th, 2024. The purpose of the change would be to create a more uniform meeting time that is in alignment with the City Council's meeting time of 5 PM. Do we have any comments from you guys about that?
Chair Goss, Commissioners, I don't have any comments. There's no presentation. It's a discussion item, and then for a motion and a vote.
Thank you. All right,
I will say that most of the meetings that I've ever gone to have started at 5 o'clock. And that's what it's always been. it was kind of different that this one was 5:30. So I'm fine with the 5.
What was the purpose? Why did they move it to 5:30 from 5 just
yeah, so
18 months ago?
they had to move it because City Council was using some things, so we had to get moved around.
So now they're not using
They
what?
actually never used it very much.
I'm of the opinion that we're here to serve the public. And typically, the public can't be here at 5 o'clock, even though tonight they're not. So I'm kind of in favor of 5:30, but I'll go with,
So I've been on the commission for a long time, and for 5, we've had packed audiences at 5 o'clock. So usually when people show up, they're mad at us, and if you're mad, you can get anywhere at any time. So I think it'd be nice, especially for staff as well, to be able to just go on with their day and not have to stay so long with nothing to do in the middle. And I don't have a problem with it being at 5, but I don't know if anybody else.
Madam Chair, I think I was part of the problem, or a solution, I guess, in this part. The problem was I and many people that work for the county, we got up at 5. And I'd be sweating running in here after cutting out early, sometimes telling my boss to stop and run out the door because I was in the middle of a meeting, at 4:30 or whatever. So it helped me, and I justified it. I pitched it as, there's great people out there who may be employed that would want to do something like this,
But that doesn't really apply to you anymore.
Well, I'm retired now, but I can sympathize with the people that were in my situation. So, Mr. McCoy, that's exactly what I was thinking, is that, 5:30 would allow somebody that does a 9 to 5 job or 8 to 5 job to get off, get here, and maybe even prep a little bit, look at a note or something. Again, it's kind of a selfish reason why I asked to do it. And I originally asked for 5:15, so maybe that's a halfway point, The Aristotle, meet in the middle, that type of thing. I don't know if you want to consider something besides 5 o'clock, but that's all I have to say. Thank you.
What about you, Jen? Do you care one way or the other?
I have a county job as well, and it seems to me that for a situation like this, that a boss would be hard pressed to not allow you to leave 15 minutes early to get to a meeting on time that serves the city, but I only know my situation. I don't know everyone else's, but to me, it seems like people might be done and ready to be home at 5:30, and they might be less willing to come sit here than if it were at 5 o'clock. But I just also know that I prefer 5 o'clock over 5:30, so my personal preference is coming into play.
Yes, the 5 o'clock is fine with me. And I kind of agree, too, that, perhaps that might make it easier for the public to be here in attendance at the meeting.
Okay, do we want to make a motion, or?
Madam Chair, I move that we retain the 5:30 schedule.
I would second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote?
Chair Goss,
Deny.
Vice Chair Swap,
Deny.
Commissioner McCoy,
Approve.
Commissioner Sixta,
Denied.
Commissioner Sprinkle,
Denied.
Commissioner Waters.
Approve.
The item failed, or it failed.
Do we have another motion?
And just FYI, as the chair, you can make a motion.
I can?
Yes.
Oh, well, then I make a motion to approve. Do I get a second?
You do.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Can I get a roll call vote?
Chair Goss,
Approve.
Vice Chair Swap,
Approve.
Commissioner McCoy,
Deny.
Commissioner Sixta,
Approved.
Commissioner Sprinkle,
Approve.
Commissioner Waters.
Deny.
The item was approved.
All right.
Chair Goss,
yeah.
with that particular item, that'll give us the ability to direct the city attorney to bring back a revised resolution or ordinance to city council, which would make that effective the first meeting in January.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any reports from staff? Okay.
Chair Goss, Commissioners, just real quick, you'll notice we do have a vacant seat before you tonight. So although not present this evening, I did want to take a moment to recognize and express the appreciation of Commissioner Sarkeesian for his dedicated service and steadfast commitment to the city of Kingman during his tenure of the Planning and Zoning Commission from 2022 through November 10th of 2025, when he announced his resignation. So with that, we do have an open position on the commission. The city clerk is accepting applications pending tonight's vote. We didn't want to put that out on a start time just yet. So with that, we'll go ahead and release that tomorrow. With that, it'll go before the city council. Any recommendations or for consideration anyways, at the December 16th city council meeting. A couple other things I had. Just a reminder, tomorrow night is the Commission Appreciation Dinner at the Serbrook Golf Course Grill. It's from 6 to 8, so hopefully you all got your emails and you're all going to be there and enjoy a nice dinner. 6 to 8 at the golf course. And then there are no items currently scheduled for the December 10th, 2026 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Therefore, on behalf of the Development Services Department, we do want to wish each and every one of you and your families a very thankful and joyous holiday season. Thank you.
Thank you, Jason. All right, do we have any announcements by commission members?
Madam Chair, I would like to request of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Planning and Zoning staff, to provide a recap of the Arizona Planners Association meeting this year. As you know, we couldn't afford to send everybody. I was interested. And the big takeaway from that thing is the fad or trend that the city needs to be careful of. I found that invaluable the last few times I've gone there. Casita, affordable housing, whatever. It really gives the city something to worry, to hone in on that might be something that'd be a bad decision for the city. So if you could just give a recap of the highlights, especially the keynote speech, what they were pushing, that would really help me understand what the delusion that the planning community, the greater planning community, is kind of swept up in this year. I would appreciate it.
I would also enjoy that. I had wanted to attend, but I was unable to, so that would be helpful information.
Chair Goss, Commissioner Waters, Commissioner Swap. Vice Chair Swell. The meeting itself, we sponsored the conference this year. With that, it actually gives us online access, I believe, through March of 2026. So you can actually go in and view all of the stream sessions and attend the keynote speech and so forth. I can tell you the recap on the keynote speech was rather dreadful. It really was centered around the fact that local governments needed to come up with funding for all forms of, trying to figure out how I want to word this. Not diverse housing, but for the diversity of the community, whether it be race, age, or any other provision. And that was what their push was, so.
So with that comment, we will not be able to discuss that. It is not on the agenda for discussion
Okay.
currently. Your request has been noted for discussion.
Duly
We'll
noted.
report later.
Thank you, and sorry, Carl.
Well, Chair Goss, sorry, Madam Chair, I find your input extremely useful, and I'd like to see more of that from staff based on the trip, from people that have actually attended. So, thank you.
All right, do we have any more information from you guys? No? All right, then meeting is adjourned.